I'm Seamless, and today is Friday, which means it's time for a new How to Bass. And today I'm going to show you how to take this and turn it into this. So today is all about the Granulizer. Yeah. So, you might recognize this sound. This is actually the sound that I made when I tried to make the Kill the Noise sound on Wednesday. And so I'm not going to actually talk about how to make this original sound because I talked about that on that video. It was sound design request number 2, which is in my channel. So if you want, the FLP that I used to make that is on there. So if you want that sound, go get it, and also watch that video to explain how I made it. But today is all about that jazz. So I also had a tutorial on Monday about the Granulizer. I told you back then that I would Tuesday that I would be doing this jazz with the bass. So I kind of gave you a clue as to what this was going to be about when I said that when I use the Granulizer, I pretty much automate these 4 knobs and the panning. Because I said that in the effects, that I think the coolest thing is this panning. So that's pretty much what I did. I have grain attack time here, which is this first knob. I have grain hold time, which is this knob. I have grain spacing, which is this knob. Grain wave spacing, which is that knob. And stereo envelope separation, and that's that knob. And you may have seen a tutorial on YouTube from, I forgot who made it. It's pretty popular. It's about resampling sounds in the Granulizer to get the nice neuro-y kinds of sounds. And it's a great idea. Like what the guy said to do was pretty sweet. And it basically boiled down to screwing around until you get good results. And that's exactly what I've been doing. I much like resampling, when I do bass resampling in Harmor, I am not planning for a whole phrase to come out of what I'm doing with this. I like, when I do resampling, for example, I like to make a whole phrase and then I'll chop it up and I'll insert bits of it as fill elements in main parts of the song. And that's pretty much what I do with the Granulizing as well. It's so just outlandishly freaky and full of weirdness that I typically don't use it as main sounds. I use it as fill sounds, or secondary interesting bass bits. This is a sort of interesting, like the interesting sound design sounds that you put in your songs. This is what this sort of stuff is. And when I made this, I basically just screw around with it. But then I also kind of fine-tuned it a bit when parts got weird. I explained in the first tutorial how the Granulizer works, but I'll quickly go over what each of these knobs are supposed to do. So the attack time actually means attack and decay time, which means that when you turn it on, it's going to add on a tail and a beginning to the grain. The grain time is not going to change, but the time until the next grain will change because it'll make the total grain time, longer as a result of adding on an attack and a decay. So that's what that does. Hold time is the main grain length. Grain spacing is the spacing between the grains. And then wave speed is basically how fast, how many grains there are in the thing. Lower values will be a lot. And if negative values is basically reverse playback. So I think the easiest way to deal with this would be to record what you do and then chop it up into the track. I actually do a little bit differently when I actually use it in songs because I like working with live elements, and what I'll end up doing is I'll automate volume to be the parts that I want. Like I'll just have whole huge bits going on underneath stuff, and then I'm like, okay, I want this part to happen here, and I want this part to happen like there, and then also here. Or something, And you can kind of see how really short moments of that work out pretty good as far as like just sort of glitchy kinds of things that you stick in stuff. But like I never get too married about what I'm doing here, but if I do like what happens, the next step is to, copy this and then make it all unique and then do it again. So, however, you can, try and make more musical results in the Granulizer. So that's the original audio, right? And so if I turned off the attack, So if I had really good control of that, I could actually make something a main element. Yeah, so nitty gritty control of the Granulizer I discussed in the Granulizer tutorial on Tuesday, FL Basics 29, I think. Yes. But this is really a very simple concept. Like the sound is super complicated because it's based on a more ridiculous sort of business. But you don't necessarily need to use that as like a baseline for anything. Like you could load in like and you could end up with kind of rather interesting elements as a result. But when I first discovered, I didn't really discover it. The first time I decided to actually use granulizing on my basses was pretty good because it pretty much revitalized the sounds that I already had. Because like I would have it could take pretty like stagnant sounds, right? It's like if you're using the same sounds over and over again, and you want something new and like to spice up what you're doing, like granulizing it as an effect on top of your arrangement is a pretty good way to do that. And it it makes very sophisticated sounding stuff. Like if you just kind of continue to screw with it for a long time, you're going to get new and interesting results. And then, like I said, the simplest way of doing this is probably to cut out to record it as an audio sample and then cut what's good and arrange it that way, as opposed to trying to keep all this automation in line, kind of thing. Putting the samples in is pretty straightforward. You can like I did, you drag and drop into the thing, and that's gone. So I have an Edison where I recorded the original bass sample, so I can just boink, and now it's in there. Yeah, so lots of interesting results can be had from screwing around with the Granulizer. If you have any questions about this, let me know. And as usual, have a nice day, and happy granulizing.